Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Session 3. So, by now, you should have gone through the videos for Sessions 1 and 2, as well as the review video for Sessions 1 and 2. Make sure you have watched all three of those videos and you understand that material before you move on to this video. And so, like I already said, this is the video for Session 3. And in this session, we're going to talk about the legislative branch and the judicial branch of the federal government. All right, so the federal government is broken up into three branches of government. The Constitution divides the federal government into three branches: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. So you see the executive, legislative, and judicial. And I'm going to turn off my camera now. There we go. Now you can see the whole sentence. Each of these three branches, the executive, legislative, and judicial, each branch has their own specific powers. This creates a system called checks and balances, or the separation of powers. The point of the checks and balances, or the separation of powers, is to stop one branch from becoming too powerful. So this makes sure that the executive branch can't be completely in charge, or the legislative branch can't be completely in charge. It makes it so that all three branches have to work together evenly. So this then answers questions 1 and 2. Question 1 on your worksheet for this session asks for you to name one branch or part of the federal government. And question 2 asks what stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful. Go ahead and write those answers in now. All right, so let's move on specifically to the legislative branch. So, the legislative branch is also known as the legislature or Congress. This branch of the government makes the federal laws. And so, this is the legislative building right here. This is where Congress meets in Washington, D.C. The legislative branch is made up of two parts: the House of Representatives and the Senate. They meet at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. So I pointed out this earlier. This is that Capitol building, which is where Congress meets. Now, it is important to note this right over here. There are many names and they all mean the same thing. The legislative branch, legislature, Congress, and the House and Senate all refer to the exact same thing. They are all used interchangeably, so you may hear me say the legislative branch at one point. You may hear me say Congress at one point. Just know that I'm referring to the same thing no matter which one of these terms that is used. Okay, so we can now answer questions number 3 and 4. Question 3 asks who makes federal laws, and question 4 asks what are the two parts of Congress. So for question 4, you do need both the House of Representatives and the Senate. So go ahead and write those questions in now. All right, so as I previously said, the legislative branch is made up of two parts: the Senate and the House of Representatives. And as you can see, we're first going to talk about the Senate. So a senator represents all the people of their state. Each state elects 2 senators for a total of 100 senators. So remember, we have 50 states in the United States, and so if you take 50 and each of them elects 2, you get 100 senators. To become a senator, there are some requirements. You must be at least 30 years old and also a United States citizen for at least 9 years. senators are elected to 6-year terms, and the senators can be reelected as long as they want without limit. So if you start serving at age 30 and you decide to keep running all the way up until you die, if you keep getting elected, that's okay. You can keep going and you have no limit to how long you can run. And so the leader of the Senate and the tiebreaker, if necessary, is the Vice President of the United States. And so the Vice President is that tiebreaker in case a decision is voted on and it is an even 50-50 vote, uh, or they just cannot agree and that tiebreaker has to come in. And so the Vice President is Kamala Harris, who is this woman over here. So we can now answer questions number 5, 6, and 7. Question number 5 asks, who does the United States Senator represent? Question 6 asks, how many United States Senators are there? And question 7 says, we elect a United States Senator for how many years? So go ahead and answer those 3 questions now. So, after learning about the Senate, generally, we're going to talk about the Senate and Iowa's role in the Senate, specifically with the 2 senators that we currently have representing Iowa. So, our first senator is Chuck Grassley, and he has been an Iowa senator since 1981. And so, this is Chuck Grassley right down here. And so, Senator Grassley is the longest serving Republican member of the Senate. And our other senator, who is also a part of the Republican Party, is Joni Ernst. And she's been a senator since 2015. So this is a picture of Senator Ernst over here. And so Senator Ernst won her reelection campaign in 2020 in the November election, and she will be returning to Washington for another 6 years, for another full term. So we can now answer question number 8. Question 8 asks for you to name one of your state's senators. And so either of these 2 answers are correct. You just need to write whichever one is the easiest for you to remember. The other part of the legislative branch is the House of Representatives. Now, while the Senate only has 100 members, the House of Representatives is significantly larger. There are 435 voting members of the House of Representatives. And as you can see in this picture, that's a lot of people in just one part of Congress. So this here is the House of Representatives. And so these representatives are not divided evenly among all the states. Some states have more representatives than others. The numbers of representatives that a state has depends on the state's population. States with more people have more representatives. So, for instance, you have California, which has the most people in it. They have 53 representatives. Whereas a small state like Iowa, we only have 4 representatives. And that's based on population. And so, like senators, representatives have different qualifications that they need in order to run. And so, a representative must be at least 25 years old and be a United States citizen for at least 7 years. Representatives are elected to 2-year terms and can be reelected without limit. So, this answers questions 9, 10, and 11. Question 9 asks how many voting members are in the House of Representatives. Question 10 asks why do some states have more representatives than others? And question 11 asks we elect a U.S. representative for how many years? Go ahead and answer those questions now. So, within the House of Representatives, the members appoint a leader. The leader of the House of Representatives is chosen by the party with the majority of members. So, this leader is given the special title of Speaker of the House. The Democrats currently hold the majority. And so, the current Speaker of the House is this lady, who is Nancy Pelosi. So, now we can answer question number 12, which asks who the current Speaker of the House is. Go ahead and answer the question. We're now going to talk specifically about Iowa's representatives in the House of Representatives. So, Iowa has 4 congressional districts, meaning that we have 4 representatives. And so the map of those representatives is done out here. So you can see that this green area, this is District 1 of Iowa. This area is District 2. This is District 3. And up here, this bigger area is District 4. So we in Columbus Junction are located down here in Louisa County, which is in District 2. And you may notice that the districts are not all the same in land size, but the districts are divided based on population. So, for instance, District 3 is smaller than the rest of them. That's because the largest amount of people live here. Well, as District 4 is much bigger, that's because you have to have this much land to account for the same number of people. And so, like I said, Iowa has 4 congressional districts, so we have the 4 representatives. So these representatives currently are Ashley Hinson, who represents District 1, Marionette Miller Meeks in District 2, Cindy Axney in District 3, and then Randy Feenstra in District 4. And so, like I said, we're located in District 2 down here. And so our representative in District 2 is Marionette Miller Meeks. And this is a picture of Representative Meeks. So we can now answer question number 13. Question number 13 asks for you to name your United States representative. So go ahead and write in that answer now. All right, so that covers everything in the legislative branch. So now we're going to move on into the judicial branch. So, the judicial branch of the United States government includes the Supreme Court and the federal court. These courts review laws, explain laws, and resolve disputes. The highest court in the United States is the Supreme Court. It is the final judge of cases involving the Constitution. And so this picture over here, this is the building where the Supreme Court meets in Washington when they hear cases. And so we can now answer questions number 14 and 15. 14 asks, what does the judicial branch do? And question 15 asks, what is the highest court in the United States? Go ahead and answer those 2 questions now. All right, so let's now specifically talk about the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is made up of 9 judges, and they're given the title of justice. So you have 9 justices. One of the justices serves as a leader, known as the Chief Justice. All of the justices are appointed by the president and then approved by the Senate. So the president has to say, I nominate this judge to be on the Supreme Court. And if the Senate approves, then they join the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court decides cases based on the Constitution, and their decision is final. So, whatever the court says, that is now the new law. And the only way to overturn a Supreme Court decision is with a new Supreme Court decision. Okay? So, this picture over here shows 8 of the current justices of the Supreme Court. This one in the middle, circled right here, this is John Roberts Jr., and he's currently the Chief Justice of the United States. And when you see a picture of the Supreme Court, it's usually easy to tell who is the Chief Justice because they are usually the one who is sitting in the middle, like John Roberts is here. Now, this woman right here, to the right of Justice Roberts, this is the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Justice Ginsburg recently passed away, and her seat has been filled by the new Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who's this woman right here. Justice Barrett has not taken her official picture with the court yet, so I have her pictured separate over here. So, these 4 in the back, these 3 right here, and this man right here, they are all on the Supreme Court still. And this woman is now where this woman once sat. Okay? So, we can now answer questions number 16 and 17. Question 16 asks how many justices are on the Supreme Court? And question 17 asks who is the current Chief Justice of the United States? So go ahead and write in those 2 answers now. So now we're going to do some worksheet review to make sure that your answers are the same as mine. So take the time and write in the correct answers after I read it. Pause the video if you need, and let's go get on. So question number 1 asked, name one branch or part of the federal government. So there's the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. All you need is one of them. Question 2, what stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful? That is the checks and balances or separation of powers. Again, either of these 2 are correct, you just need one of them. Number 3, who makes federal laws? That is the legislative branch, also known as the legislature or Congress. Number 4, what are the 2 parts of the United States Congress? That is the House of Representatives and the Senate. And you do need both of these for number 4. Number 5, who does a United States Senator represent? And that is all the people of their state. Question number 6, how many United States Senators are there? There are 100. Question 7, we elect United States Senators for how many years? And that is for 6 years. Question number 8, what is one of your state's U.S. Senators right now? So we have 2. There's Chuck Grassley and Joni Ernst. You just need to have one of them. Question 9, how many voting members are in the House of Representatives? That is 435. Question 10, why do some states have more representatives than other states? And that is because of the state's population. Question number 11, we elect a United States representative for how many years? That is for 2 years. Question number 12, who is the current Speaker of the House of Representatives? That is Nancy Pelosi. Question number 13, name your United States representative. So remember, we're in District 2 of Iowa, and so our representative is Marionette Miller Meeks. Question 14, what does the judicial branch do? They review laws, explain laws, or resolve disputes. Any of these are correct. You just need to have one of them. Number 15, what is the highest court in the United States? That is the Supreme Court. Question number 16, how many justices are on the Supreme Court? That is 9, and you can either write out the word 9 or the number 9. And finally, question number 17, who is the current Chief Justice of the United States? And that is John Roberts or John Roberts Jr. Either is correct. So these are the correct answers. So make sure that your answers match mine. Take the time now to pause the video, write in those correct answers. You do want to make sure that you have all the correct answers because these are the questions that come directly from the citizenship test and they're questions that you may be asked. So after we do worksheet review, we know that next comes the dictation practice. So it's the same thing as it has been before. I'll say a sentence and I want you to write what I say. So let's start with the first sentence. So I'm going to read, there are three branches of the federal government. There are three branches of the federal government. Go ahead and write that sentence now. Okay, so here's what the sentence should look like. See, there are three branches of the federal government. All right, question number 2. I'm going to read and then I want you guys to write. We have 100 senators. We have 100 senators. And so here's this sentence, we have 100 senators. You can either write the number 100 or you can spell out 100 in words. Either is okay, but I find that writing the number 100 is easier. Okay, and the final sentence, the Supreme Court is the highest court in the United States. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the United States. So that's what this sentence looks like. You have supreme and court. They're both capitalized. And then is the highest court in the United States. So dictation is part of the citizenship interview, and you will need to be able to write a sentence that you hear the interviewer say. If you can successfully do that, if you can do what we just did, if you can write a sentence that you hear me say, then you will be able to pass the writing portion of the interview. All right, so I'm going to turn my camera back on now while we talk about the homework. Yay, homework. So, what I want you guys to do before the next session, for session number 4, is I want you guys to do some homework. So you have a writing practice where I want you guys to write out the 5 sentences that you have been provided. And I want you to practice saying them out loud, okay? And then there's also a reading exercise. And so I want you to practice reading the U.S. government, the legislature, out loud. Take it slow, read it in parts, and don't overwhelm yourself all at once. I believe in you, and I know that you can do it. Well, all right, that's the end of this video. So the next session is session 4, and it will go over the last branch of the federal government, the executive branch. So, as always, if you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to call the Columbus Junction Public Library at 319-728-7972. Or if you would prefer to email, you can email Mandy Grimm, who is the library director, at this email right here. Or, if you would prefer to stop in person, you can always come in and we would be happy to assist you with any questions you may have. So that's everything. That's the end of this video, and I will see you all next time in the video for session 4. Happy learning!